My husband's hand moved up onto my knee in the back seat of the car. Driver Kim was sitting in the front seat. I caught the driver's eyes in the rearview mirror. My face burned with embarrassment. "June, not now," I whispered, but my husband didn't stop. Instead, he became bolder. "Is this love? Life with my 65-year-old husband, whom I remarried at 53, was strange from the start. Or rather, should I say it felt like a dream at first. Then gradually turned into a nightmare. Before we begin the story, please subscribe and like, thank you." At 4 a.m., my husband woke me, his hand wrapping around my waist. 3 times yesterday, 3 times the day before. And today would be the 4th. My 53-year-old body was already past its limits. Is this love? 6 months into marriage, life with my 65-year-old husband, June was a blessing at first. Now it was turning into hell. I remember June on the day he proposed. The look in his eyes as he knelt under the candlelight in the restaurant, holding out the ring, is still vivid. "Yijin, I'll cherish you for the rest of my life." It was sincere. It wasn't calculated, it was a voice filled with real love. For me, who had lost my husband 15 years ago, and raised my daughter alone, June was a miracle. Love at 53, a flutter I thought would never come again. As the CEO of an established construction company, he was financially comfortable, and above all, he seemed to cherish me. During our 1-year courtship, he never once ignored my wishes. He always asked whether he could hold my hand, whether he could kiss me. He waited patiently. I loved how he'd open doors for me and pull out my chair on dates. His attitude of listening to me and respecting me was touching. On our wedding day, my daughter held my hand and whispered, "You look happy." I was happy. Until then, at least. But from the day we put on our wedding rings, something started to change. It was the first morning after we returned from our honeymoon. I was carefully preparing breakfast for my husband. I was boiling doenjang jjigae and making side dishes, when I sensed June behind me. "Yijin?" His voice was different. Low and husky, a tone I'd never heard before. I turned to see June standing there wearing only pajama bottoms. "Yes, breakfast is almost ready. We can eat later." He grabbed my wrist and pulled. I stumbled at the sudden force. "Now? The stove is. 5 minutes is enough." It wasn't 5 minutes. Only after 30 minutes could I return to the kitchen. The doenjang jjigae was burnt and stuck to the pot. And the side dishes had gone cold. Every morning was like that after that day. 2 months after our marriage, the pattern became clear. Morning, afternoon, evening, and sometimes at night too. When I was preparing breakfast in the morning, he would appear without fail. Whether I was showering, hanging laundry, or cleaning, he'd appear out of nowhere and drag me by the wrist. "June, wait." When I hesitated, his expression would change. He'd furrow his brow and say coldly, "We're married, what's the problem?" It wasn't a problem, it was a matter of timing. But I couldn't say that. I thought we couldn't fight over something like this when we were newlyweds. It was the same after lunch. When I tried to wash dishes, he'd hug me from behind and whisper, "Yijin, lunch was delicious. I want to repay you." The word repay started to feel heavier and heavier. It sounded less like an expression of love and more like demanding payment. One day, I gathered my courage and asked, "June, could we reduce the frequency a little?" June's face hardened instantly. "Reduce the frequency?" "No, it's not that, I'm just a bit tired. Yijin, I'm 65. Do you know how good it is to be this healthy at my age? Other women complain that their husbands don't even show interest." His logic was clear. A strong sex drive was proof of health, and I should be grateful. I know that, but if you know, that's enough. Married couples don't bicker over things like this. The conversation ended there. I couldn't express my opinion. Evening time was even more unpredictable. While eating, watching TV, even while doing dishes, he'd suddenly hug me from behind. "Yijin, you look so pretty in your apron." His hands wrapped around my waist. Stew was boiling on the stove. Let me turn off the stove. Just a moment, really just a moment. But it wasn't just a moment. The stew eventually overflowed, and I had to rush to turn off the burner. June said irritably, "Why can't you focus?" It wasn't that I couldn't focus, it was a dangerous situation, but he didn't understand. Nights were even harder. When I tried to fall asleep, exhausted, June would approach. "Yijin, you're not asleep yet." "I'm tired, trying to sleep." "Just 5 minutes." I knew by now that 5 minutes was never 5 minutes. 3 times a day, sometimes 4. Is this what a 53-year-old woman should have to endure? "Yijin, I have a dinner meeting with some business clients today. Come with me." He wanted to introduce me as the CEO's wife. We sat side by side in the back seat of a black Mercedes. Driver Kim drove quietly while we sat comfortably. We were heading from downtown Seoul to Gangnam. We were crossing the Han River Bridge. June held my hand. At first, I thought it was affectionate touching. But his hand started moving upward. Wrist, forearm, then shoulder. My heart started beating fast. June's hand was now moving slowly from my knee toward my thigh. My whole body froze. Driver Kim was in the front seat. I turned my head to look at June. I spoke with my eyes. "No." But June smiled and moved his hand to my inner thigh. I pushed his hand away with mine, carefully. "June." But June put his hand back again. This time more boldly. I glanced at the rearview mirror. I met Driver Kim's eyes. The driver looked away immediately. My face burned. Embarrassment, shame, humiliation all washed over me at once. I pushed June's hand away again. This time a bit harder. "Stop it." "Why?" "We're married." I shook my head. "The driver is right here." I swatted his hand away again. June's lips formed a straight line. The atmosphere turned ice cold. He didn't speak to me during the dinner either. In the car ride home, June remained cold. That night, June was rougher. Like revenge for being rejected during the day. Even at dawn, I woke to June's touch. My body was exhausted, but I couldn't refuse. Every single day, without exception. Whether I was watching TV, folding laundry, or cleaning, he'd suddenly approach. At night, I wanted to turn away. I wanted to pretend not to notice, pretend to be asleep. But I couldn't. My body started sending signals. My lower abdomen ached heavily, and my back felt like it would break. Every time I went to the bathroom it stung, and sometimes there was blood. Every time I looked in the mirror, I saw a stranger. A face drained of color, sunken eyes. One day I gathered my courage. I was really struggling. When June approached again, I blocked his hand with mine. With trembling hands. My voice wouldn't come out. I moved my lips for a while before finally speaking. "Could we rest for just a bit?" I saw June's face harden. "We're newlyweds and you're already like this." What came out of his mouth wasn't understanding but complaint. Other women make a fuss that their husbands don't even show interest. But you're blessed. Blessed? Being demanded 3 times a day? The conversation ended. My words were dismissed as complaints, and June's desires were justified. That night I sat alone in the bathroom and cried. Silently, without making a sound. 6 months into marriage, dizziness hit me as soon as I woke up. I looked in the mirror. In the mirror was a woman who looked not 53 but 70. I collapsed while preparing a meal. June ran over in surprise, but I said I was fine. I held on for another week. Then I finally went to the hospital alone. Without June knowing. The test results were serious. Ma'am, you have severe pelvic inflammatory disease and cervical inflammation too. You need to avoid marital relations for the time being. At least 3 months. When I heard 3 months, I felt relief wash over me. But despair came at the same time. I felt pathetic for feeling relieved. I sat dazed for a long time in the taxi ride home. Evening came, and June came home from work. I prepared dinner as usual. While doing dishes, he hugged me from behind as expected. This time I refused clearly. I told him I went to the hospital, that I have pelvic inflammatory disease. That I need to rest for 3 months. He said he understood, but his voice was cold. And his expression full of disappointment. That night, my husband slept in a different room from me. Everything changed from the next day. June wouldn't look at me. Even when I prepared dinner, he'd say he wasn't hungry and would eat later. A week passed, then 2 weeks, with no conversation. He came home later and later. He said he had client meetings, golf appointments, dinners. Even on weekends he wasn't home. 9 months into marriage. I was becoming invisible in my own home. I found myself eating alone at the table more and more. Food wouldn't go down my throat. One night, June came home at 2 a.m. The smell of alcohol was overwhelming. He looked surprised to see me waiting with the living room light on. I wanted to talk. Let's talk, I wanted to say. But seeing June's cold eyes, I closed my mouth. It's late, let's sleep. That was all. The hospital treatment was going well. But the sickness in my heart only deepened. My daughter called. She knew everything just from my voice. I told her about the cold relationship with my husband. And she told me to come stay at our place if it was too hard. That evening June came home late. I told him I'd go stay at my daughter's for a bit. June's face hardened and he told me not to do this. But I said I couldn't bear it anymore, that I needed time to think. June asked what he had done wrong. Do you really not know? I headed for the door. June grabbed my arm. Yijin, I'll do better. Think it over. What does do better mean right now? That you'll wait until I'm healed. That's not love. I shook off his arm and left. Tears wouldn't stop during the taxi ride to my daughter's house. With this love I restarted at 53 and like this after just 1 year. The next day, I opened my eyes in the small room at my daughter's house. Morning sunlight came through the window, and I could hear birds chirping. It was a morning where I didn't have to wake to my husband's touch. A week passed. I was alone when I woke up, alone when I ate dinner. But strangely, I felt at peace. Looking in the mirror, I was changing little by little. Color was returning to my face, and life was coming back to my eyes. June sent text messages every day. Did you eat? The weather's nice today. I miss you. At first I didn't read them. But after a few days, I did. I replied briefly. After 2 weeks, he called. His voice was trembling, and he asked to meet. He had something to say. I was about to refuse but agreed. The next day at the coffee shop, June was already there. He had changed a lot. His haggard face, dark eyes, and slumped shoulders were unfamiliar. An awkward silence passed. June spoke first. Yijin, I'm sorry. I really did wrong. I lifted my head and looked at him. His eyes were red. Tears welled in the 65-year-old man's eyes. He said he'd thought a lot since I left, that he'd lived 65 years. But knew nothing about relationships with women. I went to the hospital. A psychiatrist. I looked at June in shock. The doctor told him that he had symptoms of sex addiction and anxiety disorder. June's hands were trembling on the table. The loss of confidence as he aged, the fear that his value as a man was disappearing. He tried to confirm it through sex. There were also medication side effects, he said. His blood pressure medication made it worse. For the first time, I understood. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was understanding. June reached out his hand. I pulled my hand back. Tears rolled down my cheeks. Eugen, I'll get treatment properly. If you want, I'll even go to couples counseling. Please come back. I'll think about it. Okay. I'll wait. As long as it takes. As we parted, June said once more, Eugen, I really love you. The tremor in his voice sounded sincere. But is sincerity enough? On the way back, I thought a lot. Could I forgive him? Could we start over? A month passed at my daughter's house. I looked out the window, lost in thought. Could June really change? Then my daughter carefully approached and showed me her phone. It was a social media screen. A photo posted by June's acquaintance. Taken at a golf course with June standing there smiling. My heart sank. It said it was from yesterday. It's been 2 weeks since you met with him. And he's out playing golf like this. My daughter swiped the screen. Another photo appeared. A photo taken at a restaurant, with him among women. The person who said he'd get treatment, who said he'd wait, was living like this, smiling. Tears welled up. Betrayal washed over me. My daughter said quietly, Mom, he's not sincere. Maybe he's more comfortable without you? My daughter's words pierced like a dagger. That night I couldn't sleep. June's message came again. He said he missed me today too. It was a lie. I didn't reply. A few days later, June called. He asked when we could meet, and I answered coldly. You seem to be doing well. Playing golf, having dinners. Silence followed. He made excuses that it was unavoidable because of work. But I couldn't believe him. Unavoidable. While texting me every day, saying you miss me. He said it was a misunderstanding. I asked what was a misunderstanding. Aren't you more comfortable without me? He said no, absolutely not, but I couldn't believe him. I hung up the phone. After that day, June's texts and calls poured in, but I didn't read them. I didn't reply either. On the day marking 2 months at my daughter's house, a call came. It was my husband's secretary. Ma'am, the CEO collapsed. He's in the emergency room at Seoul National University Hospital right now. My mind went blank instantly. My hands trembled. I told my daughter and caught a taxi. My heart pounded the entire way to the hospital. Please let him be okay. I arrived at the emergency room. The secretary ran to me, and June was lying in bed with an IV. The doctor asked me to come to the consultation room. He opened the chart and explained. My husband collapsed from acute gastric ulcer and extreme stress. For a month he'd barely eaten, lost nearly 10 kilograms, and was malnourished. It felt like my world was collapsing. And his psychological state is very poor. With severe depression symptoms, he said. The doctor looked at me and carefully asked, Did something happen between you two? I lowered my head. As I was about to enter the hospital room, Secretary Harry called me. We went to one side of the hallway. Harry's eyes were red. She spoke carefully. The social media photos you saw, those were all from months ago. I accidentally uploaded them late. For a moment, I felt like I couldn't breathe. The CEO hasn't played golf or attended any dinners even once since you left. He came to work from dawn every day and only worked until late at night. He skipped lunch and dinner, and it seemed so hard for him to be alone. He said he had to bury himself in work to stop thinking about you. My chest tightened. From a week ago, he didn't even come to work, just stayed home. Doing nothing, just lying there, she said. Driver Kim got worried and went in, and found the CEO, collapsed on the living room floor. Tears flowed down. I entered the hospital room. June was lying in bed, staring at the ceiling. I sat beside the bed. June said, "Yin, you shouldn't have come. I was afraid I'd make things hard for you again." I held June's hand. It was a hand with only bones left. "Why did this happen to you? I can't live without you. I can't eat. When I lie down to sleep, I only see your face. I felt like I was going crazy thinking about what I did to you." Tears streamed down. June was crying too. He said he thought about it every day for a month and talked to the doctor. June squeezed my hand and said, "The doctor counseled me for an hour. Asked if I'd ever asked my wife's opinion in our relationship. He said no. Not even once. He just did it when he wanted. The doctor said that's not a relationship, that's violence." June's voice trembled. The doctor told me. Sexual relations are created by two people together. It's not something that happens just because one person wants it. And that a woman's body isn't a machine. There are times she needs rest and she can be in pain. The doctor asked what I did when my wife said she was in pain. I said I got angry. I said I felt hurt. Tears flowed from June's eyes. Then the doctor sighed and said, "That's abuse. Getting angry when your wife is in pain is abuse." My heart felt like it was tearing apart. The doctor also asked if I'd ever told my wife I loved her after sex. If I'd ever thanked her. He answered never. He just thought it was natural. Because we're married, it's natural. The doctor said if there's no respect, it's not love. If there's no consideration, it's exploitation. June gripped my hand tightly and said, "Yijin, I understand now. I didn't love you, I used you. I didn't respect you or consider you. I just satisfied my own desires. Every morning I'd wake up, prepare meals, wash dishes, clean. And he took it for granted and never once said thank you. And I realized how selfish I was. When you said it was hard, I got angry. I understand now what a terrible thing that was." June wiped his tears and said, "The next day, my husband's psychiatrist came to the hospital room. After the examination, we went to the consultation room and sat facing each other. The doctor spoke with a serious expression. June really worked hard on treatment for a month. Medication, counseling, read a lot of books. Ma'am, do you know what's most important in a marriage? Respect. Respecting your partner. Especially in sexual relations. Sexual relations are an expression of love, not an obligation." I nodded. He said June wrote in his diary every day, reflecting on his mistakes. The doctor showed me a notebook. June's handwriting filled it densely, and under the title, "Things I'm sorry to Yijin for," dozens of items were written. "Sorry for getting angry when you said it hurt. Sorry for never saying thank you. Sorry for never asking your opinion." Tears flowed down. "Ma'am, June understands now. That sexual relations are created by two people together. If your partner doesn't want it, You don't do it, and if your partner is in pain, you need to rest. And most importantly, you need to consider your partner's feelings. I gave June homework. Things he must observe before being intimate with you again. First, get your permission. Second, ask about your condition first. Third, go slowly at your pace. Fourth, ask what you like. Fifth, hold you afterwards and tell you he loves you. The doctor smiled and said, June will change. He's already changed a lot. 2 weeks later, June was discharged. We returned home. Opening the door, it was a space both strange and familiar. We sat side by side on the sofa. June held my hand and said, Jun, I'll do well from now on. I'll do as the doctor taught me. I'll listen to you well and understand your heart. Tears came. Let's start properly from now on, us? Yes, honey. For the first time, we called each other naturally. We prepared dinner together. June washed vegetables and I sliced meat. He said it was his first time, and though clumsy, his earnest effort looked endearing. Eating the dinner we made together, June said, It's really delicious. I'm sorry for taking it for granted all this time. June held my hand and said, Thank you for making delicious food today too. My heart felt warm. That night we sat side by side in bed. June carefully held my hand. We just held hands like that for a long while, silently feeling each other's warmth. June said, I'm so happy you're here beside me today. I answered that I felt the same. After a while, June carefully asked, Jun, aren't you too tired right now? You worked around the house all day and took care of me. It must have been hard? I was surprised. It was the first time he asked about my condition. I'm okay. Really? You're not lying? Really? June looked at me and said, Then can I ask you one more thing? If it's okay. Say it's okay, and if it's not, we don't have to. June asking so carefully was unfamiliar. It's okay. Really? Really? June slowly turned toward me and said, I'm scared. Scared I'll hurt you again. Scared I'll make another mistake. Then he held me. Not pulling me roughly like before, but gently embracing me. I stayed in his arms for a long while. I could hear June's heartbeat. It was beating fast. Jun, I'm nervous. It feels like our first time. Me too. June slowly caressed my cheek and said, Jun, you're really beautiful. Why didn't I see this before? June's hand stroked my hair. Jun, I'll go slowly. If you don't like it, tell me anytime. The kiss began. It wasn't a rough, hurried kiss like before. It was a soft, careful, warm kiss. We just kissed for a long while. Not rushing. June kissed my shoulder and asked, Jun, is this okay? Yes, it's good. His lips touched my neck. Do you like it like this? Yes, I like it so much. For the first time he asked what I liked and watched my reactions. Kisses continued slowly to my collarbone, shoulder, arm. How do you feel right now? Good, I was happier than ever before. June looked down at me from above and said, Jun, I love you. I really love you. I love you too. It started slowly. It was completely different from before. June's hand squeezed mine tightly. Holding hands tight, looking into each other's eyes, feeling each other's warmth, we became one. Jun, I'm so happy. Me too. So this is love. Matching each other's breathing, not rushing. June saw sweat beading on my forehead and wiped it away. June held me for a long while. Silently, just holding me. I fell asleep in that warmth. It was a peaceful sleep. The next morning when I opened my eyes, June was watching me from beside me. "Yijin, did you sleep well last night?" "Yes, I slept so well." We prepared breakfast together. June prepared soup and I cut the vegetables. While eating, June asked, "Yijin, what do you want to do today?" "I want to take a walk." "Okay, let's walk." "Where should we go?" "How about the Han River?" "Good." On that afternoon we held hands and went to the Han River. The blazing sunset was so beautiful. We sat on a bench and looked at the river. June said, "Jin, I'm really happy. Just being with you like this makes me happy." I turned my head to look at June. "Me too. I want to live like this every day. Walk with you every day, talk with you every day." "Let's do that." June hugged me tightly. 6 months passed. June became a completely different person. Every morning when he woke up, there was something he said first. "Did I sleep well? What do I want to do today? What do I want to eat?" He asked my opinion. Sexual relations completely changed too. One evening June said, "The doctor was right. Sexual relations are made by two people together. It's not something that happens just because one person wants it. You have to consider each other. That's real love." I nodded. At 53 and 65, it was love relearned in middle age. Not perfect but sincere, not easy but beautiful. Love is possible even as you age. Or maybe deeper love is possible because you've aged. There's no age limit on love. What do you think is most important in a marriage or a relationship? Communication, consideration, or respect? Please share your thoughts in the comments. Subscriptions and likes are a great source of strength for creating better stories. Thank you for watching.